You need to know what you're making, or at least have an idea for yourself of what you're making. Hey everybody, my name is Nick. I'm a director and editor, and today I'm going to be talking about the film Bad Education from Taiwan, 2022. Don't confuse it with a couple other movies named Bad Education. This is the Taiwanese film that we're talking about today. This is a recent Taiwanese film, first directing effort from actor Kai Ko. I'll start with what I liked about this film, what's good about this movie. Opening shots are pretty nice. The actor who played the police officer also did a pretty good job. I thought he's a pretty good actor. Also, the lighting throughout the film and the cinematography was kind of nice. Okay, so let's move on to what I hated about this movie. I try to be positive. If you know the channel well, you know I try to be positive. I don't like to be negative. But I need to say that I hate this movie. I think it's badly made. I think it's bad for society. I think that it shouldn't be. Look, I always say it's hard to make a movie. Anybody who's made a movie should be proud of that fact. I've never made a feature film. Any director, any person that was involved in the making of this production process can feel free in dismissing my opinion because I don't know specifically what it takes to make a feature and how hard that could be. With that said, I want to encourage as many people as I can to avoid this movie because I believe it will waste your time and rot your brain. So why do I hate this movie so much? I'll break it down. If you like this movie, please break down what's good about it. I'm very open to hearing that. But I'm just breaking down what I hate about this movie. The movie starts out with characters that we don't know, obviously. That's how every movie starts out. But we aren't connected to them yet. And the first thing that they do is tell these horrible stories, the most horrible stories you can think of things that they've done in the past. So immediately, as an audience member, I'm conditioned to hate these three teenage boys. I'm not one to totally subscribe to screenwriting guides like Save the Cat that say things like your main character needs to do something heroic right away so that you can relate to him or that you like him. I think that's a little bit of a sophomoric, simplistic way to look at filmmaking, like a paint by numbers kind of thing. I don't agree with that. I think there's lots of different ways you can introduce characters. There's lots of different ways you can make a movie. However, by the same token, I don't think it's a good idea to have your main character do the most horrible thing possible right away. You can't have one of your main characters an underage special needs girl and get her pregnant, and then your other main character murder a homeless man brutally with a rock, and his dog, by the way, and kill his dog with a rock. And then you can't have your third main character be completely spineless and willing to go along with these two psychopaths just because they're his friends. You know, if you introduce three people like that, the only rational thing that people are going to feel is hatred towards these three characters. I mean, I like edgy movies sometimes. I'm okay with crazy violence. Sometimes I really enjoy it in films. But you need a reason, and you need to build an emotional connection to characters before you earn the right, in my opinion, to show me something like that. You can't just start a movie and show all this and think that I'm gonna be interested or care or want to see any of it. I don't know why I'm watching it yet, and you're showing me all this horrific stuff. You need to earn that. What does this film do to earn it after it's done it? Which is kind of not how that works. You gotta earn it first. This movie reveals that these stories were made up. Okay, cool. So you established what? These characters aren't psychopaths, but they are kind of spineless little Weasley liars that think it's funny to say horrible things. So where does this movie go next after we realize that this story that they tell is fake? Well, then it turns into a kind of a screwball comedy where they are like messing with like these gangsters, and it has kind of like an after hours kind of thing where they're running around the city at night and trying to get out of trouble, and all these horrible things happen to them. It's the next really bad thing about this movie is that there's no cohesive tone throughout this. It wants to be a dark comedy, it wants to be funny, also kind of wants to be serious and shocking, but these shifts from dark to comedy happen in these abrupt, clunky ways as we go throughout the story. And, you know, there's accentuated by this goofy, stupid music and this silly acting that's sometimes very serious and sometimes very silly. And it's just not cohesive in any interesting way. Like, I feel like the director doesn't understand how to create tone at all. And it's done the worst when they steal this taxi cab. And in the back of the cab, there is a woman who is... It's interesting how such a common theme in this. And she's presented as a comic relief character. And I really need to reiterate that I, as a person who watches films, don't get offended that easily. I'm okay with watching offensive things. But this was just gross and arbitrary, and I didn't understand why you presented it this way. Why are you creating this scenario and making it goofy? What's the reason for that? Now listen, if you want to do something shocking and you want to do something weird and counterintuitive like that, you need to work hard to motivate me. It's the same problem I had with the beginning of the crazy stuff, is you didn't earn that. You didn't earn the right to make these jokes about you didn't earn it. And so that's my main problem with this whole film, is that it doesn't do anything for any clear reason. It's just a simple kind of idea that I think these people that were making this movie had, that like when they're writing it, they think like, oh, that'd be crazy, right? It would be funny, right? Let me do. Like that's the vibe I get from this movie, is just like, I guess the opening of like high school kids being like, oh, wouldn't it be crazy if I killed a homeless guy with a rock? Dude, that would be sick. Wouldn't it be crazy if there was like a girl in the back of the cab and she's like playing with semen and putting it on my face? Like that's this movie. It's very sophomoric. Spoilers for the rest of the film, because who cares? I don't want you to watch it, so of course I'm going to spoil it for you. There's no cohesion to the acting of any of the characters. There's no consistency in how they behave. That results in no development. One of the characters goes from being brave to very, very scared at the end. And there doesn't appear to be a change in him. There isn't anything that happened to him that makes him become that way. And there's another character that goes from kind of spineless to becoming the bravest one. This is supposed to be kind of an arc, but we don't know why he suddenly develops the courage to cut off his own finger. You know, there isn't a build up to that. I don't go on any journey to see why he changed. So when it happens, I didn't really learn anything. I will say that somewhere deep down in this movie, there is a story that is interesting. At the end of the movie, they meet the head gangster who they wronged, and he forces them to cut off their own fingers, right? Now that is a concept of these three friends cutting off a piece of themselves and leaving it behind. It's like this idea of this useless friendship where you have to cut useless people out of their life. I'm really reaching here because I'm kind of just making this up. It's not really present in the film. And at the end of the film, the final shot is the three of them walking in different directions. So it's this kind of idea of like these people that we know in high school who maybe aren't that good for us, don't really match with our life. We cut them out. We need to be brave because they're really hurting us. I think that's an interesting idea, and there's another movie that could be made where that could be what this whole film is about. But I don't think the people making this movie understood that theme that was present underlying in this. Because they didn't understand what they were making, they just weren't able to execute it well, and it just felt disjointed and weird. You know, there's an interesting story about the main actor of this film. Well, he was interviewed about the film and whether or not he thought the boys remained friends. And in the interview, he said, yeah, I think they do. I mean, I think the only interesting thing about this movie is to think about it as the boys not being friends anymore. The theme that high school friends should probably part ways. They probably shouldn't stay friends. The final shot, them walking in separate directions. I mean, the cutting off of the fingers, like cutting bad people out of your life. That is the interesting concept of the film. And the main actor, somebody who won an award for it, doesn't think that that's what the movie's about. He thinks it's that they're going to stay friends. So if you don't understand what your movie is about, of course all of it's going to be messy and not have a point, and the acting isn't going to be cohesive, and the motivation of the characters isn't going to be cohesive, and the tone of the film isn't going to be cohesive because you don't know what you're making. I think it's very, I talk a lot about theme and ideas, and maybe my ideas about what the theme of a movie isn't really what the movie is about. We can speculate when we do these kind of reviews, but it's important to think about, especially as a creator. You need to know what you're making, or at least have an idea for yourself of what you're making. It doesn't need to be what the audience thinks it is. Maybe they'll find something different in it, but you need to have an idea of what you're trying to do. And I don't think the people making this film did. I think they, like I said, just were writing a series of like, oh, that'd be cool. If you disagree, please leave a comment, tell me why I'm wrong, tell me why this movie actually rules and why it's super, super awesome, dude. Tell me why I don't get it, why it's brilliant. I also, in that regard, I want to apologize to people who love the movie Marry My Dead Body, because after watching Bad Education, Marry My Dead Body looks like Citizen Kane. So so this movie did one good thing for me. It was so bad it made me not think other bad movies that I've seen were as bad in comparison. Is that a good thing? I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, I hate this movie. If you think that it's good, tell me why in the comments. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Please keep watching the channel, even if you think I'm wrong about this or anything else. I love the discussion around films, and I love talking about films. So yeah, let's keep that going. Let me know what movies you want me to see and review, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.